It was a regular Tuesday at Iron Fitness Gym when Marina first walked in. Skinny, wearing a faded, oversized t-shirt and worn-out sneakers, she seemed lost amidst the gleaming machines and mirrors reflecting muscular bodies intensely sweating. As she approached the reception desk, she overheard whispers coming from the group of regulars who always hogged the weightlifting area in the late afternoon. They were 5 guys in their early 20s, all with impressive physiques built over years of dedication and strict supplementation. "Dude, check out who just showed up," Diego, the unofficial leader of the group, mumbled, adjusting his black leather gloves as he watched Marina fill out her membership form. "I bet she'll just stick to the treadmill and those little pink machines." Bruno, his best workout buddy, chuckled quietly as he loaded another 45 pounds onto the bench press bar. "These skinny girls always come in here thinking they'll get ripped in a month. She'll give up in 2 weeks." Tiago, who was doing bicep curls with 30-pound dumbbells, nodded in agreement. "It's always the same. They come here, spend more time on their phones than actually training, and when they see it's serious business, they disappear." The comments continued as Marina, now dressed in borrowed gym clothes, timidly walked around the equipment area. She observed each machine with genuine curiosity, reading the instructions plastered on the apparatus and slowly testing the movements. "She doesn't even know where to start," Raphael commented, interrupting his 60-pound squat set. "She should hire a personal trainer, but I bet she doesn't have the cash." Carlos, the youngest of the group, was doing overhead presses with 25-pound dumbbells when he decided to approach Marina with the intention of helping. His condescending tone was evident when he asked if she needed guidance using the treadmill. Marina politely thanked him but declined the help, explaining that she preferred to explore on her own for now. This response sparked more muffled laughter from the group, who interpreted her independence as typical beginner stubbornness. For the first 2 weeks, Marina maintained a consistent routine. She always arrived at 5 in the afternoon, when the gym was busiest, and stayed until 7. She started slowly, 20 minutes on the treadmill, a few leg machines with light weights, and basic upper body exercises. The guys' comments became more frequent and less discreet. They watched her doing leg press with only 45 pounds on each side and shook their heads condescendingly. When she tried to adjust benches or set equipment heights, they sighed loud enough for her to hear, as if her presence was an inconvenience. "Look at her, hogging the leg press for half an hour to lift the weight I use for warm-ups," Diego told his friends while waiting for his turn on the machine. "These people should have a specific time to train, away from those of us who actually want to make progress." Marina heard everything but kept her focus on her exercises. There was a quiet determination in her movements, a technical precision that went unnoticed by her critics. She studied each movement, controlled every repetition, and gradually increased the loads without fanfare. In the 3rd week, something began to shift. Marina was now using weights that could no longer be considered beginner. On the leg press, she was using 135 pounds on each side. On the dumbbell bench press, she had progressed to 25 pounds in each hand. Her muscles were starting to show subtle definition, but it was evident to anyone paying close attention. Diego was the first to notice, but he preferred to attribute her progress to beginner's luck or muscle memory. The idea that this skinny girl could be progressing faster than normal challenged his perception of how the weightlifting world worked. It was on a Thursday that everything definitively changed. Marina approached the free squat rack, an area traditionally dominated by the most experienced men in the gym. It was exactly where Diego was finishing his set with 180 pounds, surrounded by his friends who were encouraging him. "Excuse me," Marina said politely, "will you be long? I'd like to use the rack." The silence that followed was almost palpable. Diego and his friends exchanged glances with expressions that mixed surprise and amusement. The idea that she wanted to use the most intimidating equipment in the gym seemed absurd. "Are you sure you know how to use that?" Bruno asked, trying to sound helpful but failing to hide his patronizing tone. "It's dangerous equipment. Maybe you should stick to the machines for a few more weeks." Marina smiled patiently and replied that she knew exactly what she was doing. She just asked them to finish when they could, as she had time. This calm and confident response left the guys even more intrigued and slightly annoyed. When they finally cleared the rack, they expected Marina to put on 20 or 30 pounds at most. Instead, she began to methodically load the bar, 2 45-pound plates on each side, totaling 135 pounds. The group watched with growing skepticism. Marina positioned herself under the bar, adjusted her grip, and executed the first squat with perfect form. She descended controllably until her thighs were parallel to the floor, held the position for a second, and ascended with constant power. She performed 10 impeccable repetitions. Not bad, Carlos reluctantly admitted, but 135 pounds is still warm-up weight for someone who trains seriously. Without responding, Marina added 25 more pounds to each side. Now there were 180 pounds on the bar, exactly the weight Diego had used. She repeated the set with the same technical perfection, controlled breathing, and no sign of excessive effort. The atmosphere around them began to shift. Other gym-goers started to notice what was happening. Side conversations quieted, and more people discreetly turned to watch the scene at the squat rack. Tiago, who was drinking water, almost choked when he saw Marina add more weight to the bar. Now it was 225 pounds. More than any of them expected her to even be able to lift off the supports. Marina took her position again. This time, her breathing was slightly more intense, but her movements remained controlled and precise. She completed 8 perfect repetitions, each executed with the same range of motion and speed. "That's impossible," Rafael muttered, interrupting his own set to get a better look. She must be cheating somehow, not going all the way down or using momentum. But anyone watching closely could see that Marina's technique was flawless. Her feet were firmly planted, her back straight, and she descended to the lowest possible position before ascending. The decisive moment came when Marina, after resting for 2 minutes, added another 25 pounds to each side. The bar now carried 275 pounds, a weight that only Diego could handle in the group, and even then, with some effort. A small crowd had formed around the rack. Personal trainers paused their sessions, other members abandoned their exercises, and even gym staff approached to observe. Marina positioned herself under the bar one last time. The silence in the gym was almost total, broken only by the sound of the air conditioning units and ambient music. She took 3 deep breaths, adjusted her grip, and lifted the bar off the supports. The weight was clearly heavy for her. Her legs trembled slightly as she stabilized the load. But instead of giving up, she focused, found her balance, and began to descend slowly. The descent seemed to last an eternity. Every inch was conquered with visible determination, but never compromising her technique. When her thighs finally became parallel to the floor, she held the position for 2 full seconds. The ascent was even more impressive. With a controlled grunt, Marina pushed the floor with her feet and lifted the 275 pounds back to the starting position. She did this 5 consecutive times, each repetition a demonstration of strength and technique that left everyone present in absolute silence. When she finally placed the bar back on the rack, the sound of metal hitting metal echoed through the gym like a judge's gavel. Marina took a deep breath, wiped the sweat from her forehead with a towel, and turned to leave. It was then that the applause began. First timid, coming from a few more distant observers, then spreading throughout the entire gym. Personal trainers, staff, and dozens of members were clapping for a performance few had imagined possible. Diego and his friends remained speechless, still processing what they had witnessed. The skinny girl they had underestimated and criticized for weeks had just outlifted all of them in one of the most fundamental exercises in weight training. Marina waved discreetly to the small crowd, thanked them for the applause, and headed to the changing room. As she walked, she heard someone ask loudly, "Who is that girl?" The answer came from one of the gym's oldest personal trainers, who had observed the entire sequence. "That's Marina Santos. She was a national weightlifting champion in the junior category before injuring herself 2 years ago. Apparently, she's making a comeback."
The Personal Trainers Awards spread through the gym faster than wildfire.
Within minutes, everyone knew they were not just in the presence of a determined beginner, but of an elite athlete who had chosen to restart her journey in that very place. Diego approached Marina at the changing room exit, with a completely different expression than he had worn in recent weeks. His friends followed at a respectful distance, all clearly embarrassed by their previous behavior. "Marina," he said, his voice filled with genuine humility, "I want to apologize. We completely misjudged you, and it was unfair of us. If you want, we'd really like to train with you sometimes. Maybe we could learn something." Marina smiled, the first genuine smile she had given at the gym since she started going. "Sure," she replied simply. "We're all here for the same reason, to get stronger." We can help each other. As she left the gym that night, Marina carried more than just her gym bag. She carried the respect earned through quiet determination, impeccable technique, and the strength she had never truly lost, just kept in reserve, waiting for the right moment to re-emerge. The next morning, when Marina arrived for her usual workout, she found a completely different gym. People greeted her by name, asked for advice on technique, and some even inquired about her history in weightlifting. What began as a story about prejudice and underestimation had transformed into something far more powerful, a lesson about never judging a book by its cover, and about how true strength comes not just from muscles, but from the determination to prove your worth through actions, not words.